Woo, woo, woo. You know it. Oh, radio, tell me everything you know. I like to sing with the radio. I like to play it real. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Hey, let's live in the universe. It's Zander, and welcome back to How Zander Would Book, my fantasy booking series that's been going on this channel for quite some time, where I take botched WWE storylines, angles, and superstars and talk about how I would have booked them differently. Last month, we looked at a full year's worth of stories, but now we're taking things back to where I very first started, which is talking about one specific superstar. And this time we're talking Zack Ryder. Never have I wanted a superstar to succeed more than Zack Ryder. He's a big dork. I can relate to that. He collects toys. He used social media to get himself over, and when nobody would listen to him. And then they were forced to listen. But then they didn't really. And instead it blew up in all of our faces. Truth be told, I wasn't actually around yet as a fan when Ryder was at his peak of popularity. But at some point in 2014 and 2015, I took some time and did a deep dive into the rabbit hole that is the Ryder Revolution. And in the span of literally 2 days, I lived through the whole 6 months or so experience of Z True Long Island story. For those that want a quick recap, well, here we go. Zack started his career as an Edge head with Kurt Hawkins. They won the tag titles for a couple of days after leaving Edge. They broke up, and Zack was repackaged on the ECW. He got a very brief appearance in the 2010 Royal Rumble before easily being dispatched by CM Punk. When ECW fizzled out, he was moved to Raw. Didn't win, like, ever. Then he decided he was tired of not being taken seriously and started Z, True Long Island Story, in 2011. Got massively over with the WWE fans because he felt like one of their own. He was the launching point for WWE on Twitter and YouTube when they thought that tout was the future of social media. He would send fans signed 8x10s if they bought his shirt. It was a really ugly shirt, huh? I mean, not that his face is ugly, like Matt Cardona, handsome guy, great beard, game recognized game, but that shirt was minimum effort, wasn't it? He would follow people back on Twitter, and he got himself over in a way that had never been done before. People were chanting his name when he wasn't on the shows. They chanted for him when The Rock was in the ring, when John Cena was in the ring, and they still kept him off the shows, but that only got him more and more over as people wanted Ryder. We want Ryder, woo, 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 filled the arenas. Finally, they gave him a shot at the U.S. title at Vengeance, and he was screwed out of the belt. He ran in on the next title match pay-per-view against Ziggler and Morrison. And finally, at TLC, he opened the show against Dolph Ziggler for the U.S. title, and he won, and that crowd exploded. He main evented Raw the next night, teaming with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. My feelings on Phil Brooks to the side. He was the guy in 2011, so he and Zack being featured in the same match means something big for the kid. Then he was sucked into the Embrace the Hate story with Cena and Kane. He became Kane's punching bag. Eve cheated on him with John Cena while everyone but Zack Ryder knew about it. He lost the U.S. title to Jack Swagger literally less than a month after winning it. Was comically beaten up over and over and over, wore a stupid body brace before Kane threw him off the stage. He was then involved in the Team Teddy versus Team Johnny thing before Eve punted him right in the little broskies at WrestleMania, and he took the pin. And that was it. He rarely appeared on Raw or SmackDown, lost to Kane on the Over the Limit pre-show, and then he did win a random Battle Royal to become SmackDown GM for a week, but that was it. The Ryder Revolution was canceled. In the time between 2012 and 2016, he won 2 singles matches on Raw. And then he won the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 32 out of nowhere. He was only in that match because Neville, or as you might know now, Pac, broke his ankle. But then he lost to The Miz the next night anyway. He spent some time in NXT and the Hype Bros with Mojo Rawley. Mojo got called up. They looked like they may have actually been on the path to winning the titles on SmackDown, but then Zack got injured. He injured his knee. Mojo won the Andre Battle Royal with the help of the Gronk, and then Zack returned, and they just went back to being a team. They broke up. Mojo beat him up a couple times. He went to Raw before finally reuniting with Kurt Hawkins in 2019, winning the tag team titles at WrestleMania. They lose those after rarely appearing on TV with them and never even getting a pay-per-view match to defend them before eventually being released in 2020 to increase WWE stock price during a pandemic. He popped into AEW for a bit, and now he finds himself in Impact, where he's clearly enjoying himself. I mean, he's actually challenging for the world title soon. Never have I seen a company so determined to punish someone for getting the fans behind them than I have with WWE. And Zack Ryder is the purest example of this. So to quote the man himself, woo, woo, woo. Let's do this. First things first, everything through TLC is going to stay the exact same, and the six-man tag the next night as well, because that puts him in the same ring as CM Punk. So we're going to start things in January 2012 on the road to the Royal Rumble. CM Punk still faces Dolph Ziggler for the WWE title, and on the pay-per-view itself, rather than on a random episode of Raw, Ryder is defending the title against Jack Swagger, who's being managed by Vicky Guerrero, who wants the title back on one of her boys. Zack barely escapes Jack Swagger, because I think Swagger was still credible in 2012. I don't know. Anyway, he then enters the Royal Rumble somewhere around spot 11, spot 12, gets a few spots in there, eliminates a lower card guy like Primo or something like that, before being eliminated by the eventual winner, Chris Jericho. Because even though I didn't watch back then, I know damn well that Jericho should have won in the Royal Rumble, not Sheamus. Sorry, Sheamus. On the road to the Elimination Chamber, we do qualifying matches for the Chamber instead of just announcing the participants. So CM Punk is the champion. He's going into defending against Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, R-Truth, Kofi Kingston. But instead of Chris Jericho, since he's the Royal Rumble winner, the final man challenging is United States champion Zack Ryder. The U.S. champion is in the chamber, and in case you're wondering or worried that he's not defending the title enough, he does defend it in a qualifying match against Drew McIntyre or someone like that. Sorry, but Drew was, he was a jobber in 2012, and I'm not rebooking everyone right now. And he's the only one that I could think to put in there. And since Jericho's the Rumble winner, he'll make his decision after the chamber by attacking CM Punk. Ryder and Punk start the chamber, champion versus champion, and the two go at it with Ryder holding his own. Punk quite clearly has the advantage and clearly has Ryder beat, but Ryder hangs in there. He fights out of a GTS. He rolls out of the Anaconda Vise. He gets a near fall, but he just keeps slipping out of the big moves, and he finally gets the final three, hitting a Rough Rider off the top of a pod and pinning Dolph Ziggler before he's caught with a skull-crushing finale, pinned by The Miz, who just has the smug Miz grin on his face as the crowd erupts with boos. Now, I did consider making this come down to Punk versus Ryder, but I don't want to alter history too much, so the Santino thing still happened later in the night, so I don't want to do a repeat of the same match, essentially. So now we're on the road to WrestleMania, where The Miz begins feuding with Zack Ryder because Zack was pinned by Miz in the chamber. And according to Miz, Ryder is a dork who shouldn't be representing the WWE as a champion. Instead, WWE should have a U.S. champion that people can relate to and look up to. And that's me, because I'm The Miz, and you get it. Again, these are Miz's words, not mine. Hey, Matt, game recognized game. The feud is as simple as that, because wrestling is not that hard. Zack wins after rolling a skull-crushing finale through, coming off the ropes and hitting a Rough Rider off the top. After WrestleMania, we're heading into Extreme Rules with the return of Brock Lesnar. Zack Ryder now finds himself in a feud with Dolph Ziggler, who decides that he's ready to take back what he believes he should have never lost to Zack in the first place. The two get a stipulation match, last man standing for the U.S. title. Let's make the title actually feel like it's worth something. Odd concept, I'm sure. Ziggler wants last man standing because he claims that without his little internet fan club, Zack wouldn't be able to stand on his own 2 feet. That match ends with Dolph and Zack running off the stage, crashing through a stack of tables where Zack lands on top of Dolph and barely pulls himself to his feet at 9. As the referee says 10 and the match is over, Zack just collapses to the floor with the title in his arms. Over the Limit is next, so that show, it's Punk versus Bryan, and Zack will be on the sidelines for that battle royal that Christian wins to face Cody Rhodes. So Zack and Cody are sitting at ringside for the battle royal. Yes, I see the irony. Zack gets the night off, but gets a quick U.S. title match on Raw the next night against a random name. Well, let's just say Justin Gabriel. I like Justin Gabriel. He and Zack probably could put on a good match anyway. Zack then finds himself face-to-face with this new guy everyone's been talking about. He's got a lot to him. He's impressive, speaks 5 languages. Antonio Cesaro, that's right. Yeah, him. Cesaro confronts and beats down Zack Ryder, setting his sights on the United States title. No way out, Zack and Cesaro go at it, and ultimately Cesaro is just too much for Zack Ryder to overcome. Cesaro gets the win. Cesaro is the new United States champion. Next month, Zack is in the Money in the Bank ladder match for the World Heavyweight Championship contract, the blue one. Dolph ultimately wins, like in real life, throwing Ryder off the ladder last to win. This happens because of multiple reasons. One, Zack's not going to be winning a world title. The character just doesn't work for a world championship. But this can show that he has the capability to fight in these high-profile matches. And 2, would you really want me to get rid of Dolph's 2013 cash-in? We now enter the road to SummerSlam, where instead of Rey Mysterio, Zack Ryder is the one feuding with The Miz over the Intercontinental Championship. And to throw it out there, I'm well aware that a certain individual over in London booked this match as well. But Ryder and Miz just feels like a perfect feud, so we're going to roll with it, all right? So Zack challenges The Miz for the IC title at SummerSlam, and he just comes up short, but just barely. And really, it's only due to Miz rolling him up and putting his feet on the ropes. 1, 2, 3. Meanwhile, on the card, Cesaro is still U.S. champion, and instead of Zack Ryder at Clash of Champions, he faces Kofi Kingston. This will make sense later, because meanwhile, Zack is going to fill the slot of Sin Cara in the Intercontinental Championship Fatal 4-Way. So Night of Champions, it's The Miz versus Cody Rhodes versus Rey Mysterio versus Zack Ryder. The match comes to an end when Mysterio hits Cody with the 619. Zack comes out of nowhere, leaps over Cody, hits the Rough Rider on Mysterio for Miz to grab him, throw him out of the ring, and pin Rey Mysterio, stealing Zack's win. Now we enter October, where main event makes its debut on Ion Television. And with one of the main event on Ion Television's first shows, Kofi Kingston would defeat The Miz to become Intercontinental Champion. But Kofi's currently dealing with Cesaro, so instead this role is going to be filled by Zack Ryder. So Miz goes for the same thing he did at SummerSlam. Feet on the ropes, roll up, 1, 2, 3. No, referee sees him, makes him get off the ropes. Miz and the referee argue. Miz gets in the referee's face, turns around, Rough Rider, 1, 2, 3. Your winner and the new Intercontinental Champion, Zack Ryder. He wins the rematch at Hell in a Cell, and then Zack enters the Team Orton versus Team Ziggler match at Survivor Series. Miz remains a heel instead of that weird face turn he did, because face Miz is not a good idea. Miz replaces David Otunga because he's David Otunga. And in that match, Zack Ryder is eliminated by Wade Barrett to get the timeline started on the right track again. TLC comes and Wade Barrett demands an Intercontinental title match with Ryder due to pinning him at Survivor Series. Ryder, being a fighting champion, accepts and gets a shock win at TLC with a victory roll over Barrett. Barrett, much like he did with Kofi in real life, will still win the title a few weeks later on Raw on the road to the Royal Rumble. And now the timeline gets a little closer to reality. Ryder and Barrett are going to have a rematch at the Royal Rumble where Wade Barrett is going to win again. Both men enter the Royal Rumble that night like they did in real life, but Ryder doesn't get eliminated by Randy Orton 2 minutes in. No, he still comes out at number 25 like he did in real life. And this time he's going to last till the end at number 30, where Ryback is going to eliminate him. Keep in mind, in 2013, Ryback was over. So now Ryder is out of the championship scene for a while, no titles, which is okay. Not everyone's going to be a champion at all times. As long as he's still credible, it's fine. He'll miss the Elimination Chamber as well, but he's going to miss it for a good reason. Because his longtime rival Dolph Ziggler faces him in a match on Raw and beats him. And kayfabe injures him with the help of Big E Langston, who at the time was Dolph Ziggler's heavy, and is the reason Ziggler can beat Ryder. So Zack is put out and misses the chamber. He returns on the road to WrestleMania 29 and gets added to the Intercontinental title match against Wade Barrett and The Miz. Sure, the match was on the pre-show, but hey, the pre-show is just as good in some cases. Miz still wins the title on the pre-show, and Barrett can still win it back the next night, but it gets Ryder on WrestleMania. And ultimately, the goal of this rebooking has been to get Zack Ryder as a credible name in the WWE by the time I'm done. And ultimately, I think WrestleMania 29 is the perfect place to stop the beat by beat. We gave Zack 2 solid years as a mid-card guy, and that's the perfect place for him, really. And I can leave it up to you where he goes from there. It's all up to you what you want to see him do. Really, at this point in the timeline, all I did was create a name that could believably jump into a US or IC title match at any time. So from there, it's WWE's job not to fuck it up. So, tell me what you thought. Did it do good? Did you hate it? It was Zack Ryder. Is my strange obsession with Matt Cardona that obvious? Tell me all that and more, and what you might want to see me do next time in the comments. I might take a shot at it. I've been Zander. That was a rebooking, and just this once. Always remember, take care, spike your hair. Woo, woo, woo. You know it. Hey, Matt, let's work something out. Let's collab sometime, all right? Someone tag Matt Cardona on this video. I want him to see it. I want to work with Matt Cardona at some point on something. Anyway, I've been Zander. That was a rebooking.